This is Pastor Dan. Are you ready for the hard stuff? This is maybe a little more focused on people who are not quite yet married or would like to be married, but I think it applies to everybody in faithfulness in marriage. I had a young lady walk in one time at La Sierra, and she said, Pastor Dan, my father and others keep telling me that to sleep with someone is wrong, but they don't tell me any reasons why, what's wrong with it. It's the only way I know how to tell this man I love him, and so I sleep with him. And I said, take out a sheet of paper. If no one else will give you reasons, I'll give you some. She came up to me a while later, I forget how long, and she says, you were too late, Pastor Dan. I said, too late for what? She said, I'm pregnant. Already had happened, and she mothered that little boy. I'm sure he's growing by now. But, yeah. And if nothing else, I say to people, if people sleep together before marriage, when God says, please don't do that, to save it for the best. The one thing you know after you get married is that they are willing to bend the rules if the price is right. And I can give you stories of exactly that. People who were that way before marriage and they were that way after marriage. And they had not cleaned that up and repaired that fence. That fence had been broken down and it was easier. That pathway was easier. It's more difficult for some of us because we're not used to that. We haven't been sleeping around with lots of people. We don't know how, we don't want to, we don't know the steps of it. That fence is up. For other people, it's not. So we could take time, if you wanted to try to make the case that God intended people to wait before they were married. I think that's what the Bible says, and when you're ready to leave your home and go and be married and be together and pay for your bills and be a family, then you're ready. But don't just play house together by sleeping together ahead of time. So here are some of the reasons. Number one, you can get, of course, a disease. You can recover from the disease, but it's no fun. I wish you wouldn't. You can get a baby, and you all know people who have had their lives changed and maybe are a single parent the rest of their life because of a one-night decision that they made. And too bad. I'm thankful for those people there in the world, but most of them would have liked to have come to that place in another way. 1/3 less sexual happiness, as I've read, for people who are sleep together before married. 1/3 more divorces for people who sleep together. We've already talked about more likely to cheat on a marriage over time. I talk about comparing. If you sleep with other people before marriage, almost nobody marries the one that they sleep with beforehand. Sometimes they can have 15 or 20 or more partners. And so now when you actually do get married, you have one or more people in your mind also. Now you can try to tune that out and filter that out, but the fact is they're there. These other people had a part of something very holy and sacred and intimate and bonding. And it didn't last, and it was ripped open, and you went with someone else. And it's too bad. And you have this comparing in the bedroom, in the honeymoon. I talk about cheating from people. I once in a while see people that I have dated 50 years ago. And now we're at a reunion, and here they are. And they're lovely people, and they're married to this one and this. And I have no regrets because I cheated nothing from them. I took nothing from them. I took nothing before them. And they don't have any memory. They have no reason to be jealous of me because we didn't blur those lines. I'm thankful for that. So I think there's lots of good reasons to be careful. It hurts people, it's damaging, and there's lots of negative that comes from it. I'm going to use the biggest one now before I'm done. God uses mystery to draw people to Him. I have longed to see the face of God. And so God hides, He says, you check me out, you test me, you read about me. And if you decide that you want to be committed to me and give your life to me and be faithful to me, then we'll have a relationship, and then someday I will take you to my house, and I will then take away the mystery, and I will show you how I really am face to face. And God does that the same with sexuality. Sexuality is a very powerful lure and motivator. One little writer says it's the flywheel that gets relationships started. Because we want to know them. We want to know them sexually and physically. We want to see them without their clothes. We want to be close to them and know them at a deeper, deeper level. But to get there, now you have to go through a relationship. You say, well, who are you? And what do you do? And what do you believe? And where you come from? And what do you stand for? Where are you going with your life? And you check people out verbally, mentally, socially, and then spiritually. If you take away the mystery too quick and say, here, let's go a little farther here now, before you've developed all those other levels of a relationship, people almost always break up. That's why these co-ed dorms pretty soon kind of slow down because people break up. The mystery's gone. You got your conquest, go on to the next one. And I've said to hundreds and thousands of people, hold on to the mystery. Talk. If you can't talk it, don't touch it. Talk, learn, and develop over time all the relational levels. And the physical, when someone makes promises to you and says, I'll be faithful to you forever, then you can go over the line and say, let me show you the rest of who I am when you come to live in my house with me forever. Think about it. This is Pastor Dan in Spotlight.
Thank you for watching Spotlight. We're so excited about this. We hope that you'll subscribe and so you'll get all of them. And please just forward it on to others and tell other people about it. And let's just see what kind of an audience we can get for these messages of Spotlight. God bless you.